disadvantage. It's usually what I like to do with this one. So obviously, like, there's a lot we could talk about in both sides, and I think typically people have a side that they prefer. One of the two that they'd like to talk about more. But it's totally okay. Obviously, like I can go over whatever you feel might be like
Oh,
more necessary for you. So
yeah. I feel like I
definitely
have
let me
trouble with
know.
disadvantage.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Sounds good. I hear that definitely more often. I'll say with PT players, so I get it
Yeah, yeah.
definitely. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about advantage and then talk a lot about disadvantage for sure.
Okay.
But so it'll split well nicely. So
Nice.
don't worry.
Okay.
I'm making an arena code right now so we can get maybe a game or two warm up.
Yeah. That is
And if there's
cool.
anything in those games, that I pick up on the sorry, I'll bring it up.
Okay, let me see that. Oh, okay.
So yeah, with these two, I mean, what's nice is a lot of a lot of like the mindset that goes into playing advantage state can kind of be reversed and applied to disadvantage state. So what I mean by that, like in a specific sense is, let's say, like, you're trying to keep somebody up in the air. A lot of your mentality to do so, or like mindset, should be, what are they trying to do out of disadvantage, right? Like, you're trying to cover their options they're trying to use to get out of disadvantage.
Yeah.
So with that logic, like, then you can also do the same in disadvantage. When you're trying to get out, you're trying to avoid whatever options you think they're going to use to keep you up there. So like, it's nice in that sense that we don't have to go super in depth about like the mentality of everything, because it's
Yeah.
usually kind of a vice versa situation. Like, you're looking to avoid the things that they're doing to either prolong their advantage state when it comes to you in disadvantage state, or the things they're trying to do to escape disadvantage state when you're trying to prolong your advantage state, right?
Okay, okay. So it's kind of like
So yeah,
vice versa?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
like to talk a lot more. We'll talk a lot more just about the options you can do, specific character moves and options you can select to kind of cover that stuff in advantage state, and things you can do to mix up your disadvantage state. So we'll
Okay.
definitely get into that. But warm up game first,
Yeah,
real quick.
sounds good. A nice job of finishing the college too. Yeah, it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
thank you, man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, nice one.
Freshman year is crazy. Can't believe it. It went by like a blur.
Oh, yeah.
That was one thing there. I had you up in the air, but I decided to not push it too far because I had gained center stage, control of center stage, and I thought maybe in that spot it'd be more appropriate to just kind of hang out, wait in center stage, and let you land, but let you land sort of more towards the corner.
Oh, okay.
And that can often be pretty important, I would say, more often with Squirtle, because as you probably noticed through playing him, like, he doesn't really have great options to keep people in the air or pressure them when they're above him. Like, his juggling game
Yeah,
is
that's
pretty weak,
true.
his vertical game is pretty weak. So a lot of the time, I do kind of opt to let people land a lot more. Like, I don't pressure them high up, and it's important to note that because it's so polar opposite of Ivy, right? Like,
Yeah.
you kind of, with Ivy, we're going to talk about how I kind of recommend going up there really early and really quickly, because the higher up you can pressure somebody, then you can force out certain options like air dodges and moves that may be punishable lower down. So you can almost
Yeah,
get
that
like
is
two
true.
chances to hit somebody in the air, But with Squirtle, it's usually more appropriate just kind of let them wait. Oh, what's going on? It
That's
happens. It
my
happens.
bad for the Wi-Fi.
No.
Yeah. Oh. Well, it's not Wi-Fi. I have LAN, so.
Hmm. Same here.
Oh shit!
Oh, what's
Oh
going on?
shit! Nice.
All right, all right, all right. As long as if it stays like that, it's fine. We'll just take a quick,
Yeah,
like, momentary pause
yeah.
every time.
Okay, there we go. That's true.
Hopefully, it doesn't get worse. here. I push you. A lot of the time, I like to go for that down throw up B because it kind of pushes you to the corner, right? Like a lot of Squirtle stuff might be more vertical and like those up airs and stuff, what we talked about. And it's
Yeah.
nice to get damage everywhere, but if I'm hitting you high up into the air, it's very unlikely that I'm going to continue with any more damage, right? So a lot of the time, it's usually
Ah, that was a good
better to
one.
push somebody
Shit.
off. It's
Yeah.
usually better to push people horizontally with Squirtle, right? Like
Oh
he's
yeah.
more of a horizontal advantage state. Like you see how I can kind of string you that way, and now I got you off stage at the ledge, and I can kind of start my ledge trap, get some
Ooh
more damage, hopefully
yeah.
racking up here.
Yeah, you're definitely
Oh,
good at ledge trapping with Squirtle too.
I mean, he makes it easy, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
So with Squirtle, it's like any chance you can get, and trust me, every time I push somebody there and I get a chance to like data collect, see what they're doing at ledge, see what options they're trying to use to get off. That like really, really makes a difference towards the end of the set or the end of even just a game, where it's like I have so many chances to collect some data and see what they're gonna do that by the end, it's really easy to hold advantage state with Squirtle through ledge. And that's like where he gets the most long advantage states, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't really do it vertically and he doesn't really edge guard. So it's usually very important to like get good at that. Oh, I got you.
Oh yeah.
Sneaking through the stage.
Yeah, that was clean. Yeah.
So yeah, that'll I'll try to bring that to our first point, right? What I was saying
Okay.
about Squirtle, and this is the advantage state, right? I'll start with this. He is absolutely a horizontal string kind of character, right? He holds advantage state and extends it horizontally much more often than vertically. And you
Okay.
notice that with a lot of his options, right? So we can talk about
Yeah.
those back airs, those raw back airs you can string across the stage. We can talk about any kind of moves like dash attack and F tilt that obviously hit you away, right? Like
Yeah.
they hit you more horizontally
Yeah,
and push you
that's
either to the corner or push you off stage, ideally off stage, but at low percents, just the corner, right? But that's even good. Even other stuff like if you do down throw combos, I said I like to go for up Bs and even sometimes back airs, anything to push them off stage. Sometimes you can go for up airs if there's platforms, like if there's something to facilitate it, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll show you just an example of that, like
Okay.
what goes into my head because so a lot of the time people I think choose the suboptimal combo route with Squirtle or like if they get a grab or something they choose something that maybe wasn't ideal because it
Yeah.
doesn't set up for like a great advantage state after that.
Yeah.
So on a stage like this, I would almost always opt for a down throw combo and try to push you to the side, right? So instead of anything like down throw up air or like sometimes people like to go for like up air, right?
Yeah.
Now like that's kind of it. It's kind of hard for me to continue after that, and
Yeah,
my
that's
juggling game isn't
true.
really. It's pretty subpar. So I'd much rather hit you with something like this, where I can get like a back air, and now I've sent you
Oh,
this way.
yeah, yeah.
You're likely gonna have to snap to ledge, right? And then I can start my
Yeah.
ledge trap. And trust me,
Damn,
like
yeah, the ledge trap. Yeah, that's what I kind of
yeah, man.
miss. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And you say like my Squirtle's so good at ledge trapping. The main reason for that is just because I collect that data, right? The more chances you have to ledge trap somebody, the more
Yeah.
times you're gonna be able to like recognize what they're doing and see their habits.
Yeah. Yeah.
So give yourself a bunch of chances by pushing them horizontally off stage or to the corner consistently from the
Okay.
start of a game, right? Even at low
Yeah.
percent. That's my advice. Like some people will say, take the easy damage, Squirtle down throw up air, up air. But I think as
Yeah.
time goes on, that damage becomes pretty like meaningless, and other people are going to start doing more off of their encounters, right? Off of them winning interactions.
Yeah, that is
And the
true.
main way for you to do more damage on your neutral wins is through this, right? Through holding an advantage state at ledge, because that's where Squirtle does it the best. Like I think it's a no-brainer between like looking for a juggling advantage state versus looking for a ledge trapping advantage state. Squirtle always prefers to have a ledge trapping situation, and
Oh,
especially
okay.
because what's his main like win condition, right? Obviously, you're here to rack up damage. You're here to keep the ledge
Yeah.
trap going, advantage state going. But what you really want at the end of the day is to push them far enough off with, let's say, a water gun, a down smash, anything, switch to
Yeah.
Ivy, and then get something started,
Yeah,
right?
there we
Then
go.
get a kill there.
Yeah,
So that's absolutely key. The idea to push them horizontally to the corner and then later to the ledge, hold your advantage states that way, and then eventually switch to Ivy for your win condition. That's so crucial, and
yeah.
I
Is
think
that
it's
like
lost on so many
universal
Squirtle
against?
combo routes.
Oh, okay. Is that like universal against every character?
As with anything, it can vary a little bit.
Okay.
So I'll say this: like, if it's a character that is so ledge trappable. Like
Yeah.
as Squirtle, you can keep them at ledge forever, and
Okay.
also very edge guardable as Ivy. So like Captain Falcon as a character, like I always try to push him to the ledge,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Consistently, just I try to get everything started that way. I'll do down throw, back air on him, send him to the ledge, get some ledge traps going, and then if I can ever hit him with something strong enough, I'll switch for a kill, right? That
Damn,
kind of
yeah.
matchup for any matchup where you can like hold a ledge trap for a long time with Squirtle and or edge guard well with Ivy, it's important to have that kind of advantage state.
Okay.
But in
Yeah.
theory, if it's a character that's more like, kind of, this is rare. I guess I'm trying to think of a good example. A character that might be difficult to ledge trap and difficult to edge guard, something like Zero Suit Samus, right?
Yeah,
Where
that's true.
it's kind of difficult to get any meaningful advantage state. I
Yeah.
think there, what I try to do is like I'll win neutral pretty often with Squirtle against Zero Suit because of like Squirtle's small size and his great up close frame data. But you won't really need to push those advantage states as far because you recognize how good her options at a disadvantage are. Like compared to a character like Captain Falcon who's pretty limited, someone like Zero Suit has so much going for her at a disadvantage that it's usually not worth it to like fully commit to a ledge trap or fully commit to an edge guard.
Okay.
So and this is just a general advantage state mentality, right? So
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked because if it's ever someone has great options at a disadvantage, something like that, it's usually better to return to a state of neutral, but still try to make sure like you're in a good neutral, right? So like
Okay.
let's say I got advantage state started on a Zero Suit, right? I
Okay.
push her to the ledge, whatever. That's all good, but I know I can't really ledge trap her. I know she can flip kick out of it. I know she can
Okay.
jump high
Yeah.
and get any kind of movement out of there. So what am I going to try to do? I'm going to return maybe to center stage to a neutral, right? But to a neutral where I have
Oh,
a slight advantage. So I'm going to try to hold center stage from there.
damn.
And yeah,
Okay.
you can throw out slight things like little movements here and there.
Yeah.
You don't have to run back to center stage. Like you can obviously go to ledge a
Yeah.
couple moves, but then at some point return back and try to beat her to it. So then at
Damn.
least you return to a
Okay.
neutral where you slightly
Yeah.
have the edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually I don't really go that back this far because I'm afraid that I miss my ledge trap. But that's kind of a good
Mm.
mix up. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you don't need to do it every time, right? You can
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
any character you can go for ledge traps, you can go for corner pressure, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I will say the more the better a character is at escaping disadvantage and escaping situations like that, the more often I'll opt to like return back to center, right? And try to win
Oh.
neutral again from there.
Okay.
Because I know I can win neutral against a lot of those characters, and I know I'm giving myself a slight edge by being the one to grab center stage first and hold it.
Yeah. Kind of like
So
Meta
it's
Knight.
really important to like, yeah, definitely like
Yeah.
Meta Knight, right? You know you're not gonna ledge trap him, and you know you're not
Yeah.
gonna edge guard him. Like it's so important to have that recognition, And I wish I could
Yeah.
go over every character in the game and what I like to do
Yeah.
and everything,
Yeah.
but it really is a lot of it is by feel. You have to
Yeah.
sort of understand you will always ledge trap and edge guard sometimes, right? Or
Yeah.
at least like something like ledge trap corner pressure. You always do that sometimes, but the better a character is at escaping those situations, and the more options they have to kind of like maybe turn the tables on you, they get back to center first. Any options like that, the more often I'll return back first. Maybe give them a little bit of stage over here to control, but at least I'm still here with a neutral advantage.
Oh, okay.
So that's really important to me, I think. And that's biggest with Squirtle because he's the one that's doing all the work kind of when it comes to like ledge trapping and stuff, at least
Yeah.
racking up damage.
Yeah.
Like Ivy
Okay.
ledge trapping game is pretty subpar. I mean, we'll talk about ledge trapping in the next lesson a lot,
Yeah.
but Ivy ledge trapping pretty subpar and Charizard is mainly just for securing stock. So it really comes down to Squirtle to like get all the damage, rack up all the damage when it comes to ledge trapping and corner pressure. So it's really important to know sort of when you're at your limit or when it's time to return to center and how often you should be like extending for ledge traps, extending for corner pressure situations. Because you are putting yourself out there a little bit if you go up here and start your ledge trap. Like you don't want to get reversal easily or they get neutral back, like they win it. So you have to have that recognition based on the character and based on the matchup. But in general, don't be afraid to do it with Squirtle. Like
Oh,
don't always
okay.
sort of let people return back to neutral. Don't always give them that space because to be honest, like the best way to learn is to fully send it at first and see what characters and what options will beat that. See what
Yeah.
counterplay your opponents develop because you can try to let's trap any character really, and all you have to do is try it a couple of times and you'll see like what options they have to cover that. Oh, I just missed the kill myself. But yeah, that's my best advice. I learned it through just trial and error, seeing what I could do against certain characters. Some
Okay.
matchups I was able to ledge trap forever, and those
Yeah.
matchups I full
Damn.
send it.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not scared to stand there at ledge,
Yeah.
keep them at bay, rack up so much damage, and that's where I get my wins against a ton of the caps.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm. So that's a big thing with Squirtle, right? It
Yeah.
all stems off of his horizontal advantage states, and he sets up these advantage state situations where he can corner pressure or ledge trap people for long periods of time. And we'll talk about that next time, right? That's the ledge trapping lesson. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but
Yeah.
basically just using his quick options this way, right? When it comes to like these quick aerials, tilts he
Oh.
can throw out,
Okay.
he can throw out a lot of mix-ups in his ledge trapping and corner pressure game, and a lot of it is really quick and
Damn.
safe. Like
Yeah.
so, that's what your main way of doing that is going to be, right? And you'll rack up damage maybe slowly. Sometimes it takes time, but the main idea of advantage state is to hold it for a long period of time, right? Because the longer you're in advantage state, the more chances you'll give yourself to get damage racked up, to hit your moves, to get maybe a combo starter. You just want to keep yourself in advantage state. That's the main goal. So that brings me to my next point. So when it comes to advantage state, your main thing is going to be I want to stay in advantage state for as long as possible and give myself a ton of chances to rack up damage, right? And the
Oh.
chances
Okay.
are what it is to me, right? Like they
Yeah.
present themselves naturally, where
Okay.
maybe your opponent spends a little bit of time far away from you and you're not like close enough to get a hit on them, but you're still in advantage, right? If I had you at ledge somewhere like, or if I had you in the corner somewhere here, I might be a
Yeah.
little bit far over here. I can't hit you with anything from this distance, but I know I'm in advantage state, and I'm waiting for you to do something that would
Oh.
give me the chance to hit you,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the longer this period of time goes on, the more chances I have to like go in and do something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll rush in and run in, and then I'll hit you with something.
Oh.
It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
it's always a good position. There's a reason they call it advantage, right? Because you're always the one who can control the flow of that situation, and you're skewed to win that interaction more often than not. So it's really, really important to give yourself so many of those chances. And the longer you can hold advantage state, the more those chances will just present themselves, and you'll get a great amount of damage racked up. With Squirtle, it's really important too because as you have probably like you can notice he doesn't get that much damage off of winning each like neutral interaction, especially if it's
Yeah.
just like a straight hit
Yeah.
or just like a small little combo that sends them off stage again. It's not tons of damage. You're gonna have to win consistently,
Yeah. That's
but
true.
luckily he's so built to win again and again and again, right? These
Yeah.
quick hitboxes he can throw out, they're super
Yeah.
duper safe. So even if I
Yup.
get like close to you over here, I can still start my pressure and
Oh. Yup.
very little damage there, but then I'm gonna start it again, and then I'm gonna do it again, and I'm throwing out these little hits. This is my advantage state, right?
Oh.
I'm sending you
Yeah.
slowly but surely, and I'll take that kind of damage. And now you started on me, and it really, it is super crucial to like not give up your positioning very easily, right? So the more I can like, oh yeah, I lost it there. The more I can return maybe a little bit in or stay like closer to center stage than you, the longer my advantage state will last and the more chances I'll give myself. And you don't want to ever do anything really that's like giving up your advantage state too easily, right?
Yeah. That's
So that
true.
would be like when people like fling themselves off stage like this, you see how I just lost it all of a sudden, and now you're
Oh.
in advantage state.
Yup. Yeah. That's
So
true.
big advice with all the bonds really is just be in a position and position yourself so that you can stay in advantage state rather than maybe committing to something big and trying to get like a big punish. So like here, I'm trying to stay on the inside, closer to center stage than you are. And I don't care if I get hit by little taps or anything, but at the end of the day, as long as I'm closer to center, which a lot of the time also means staying grounded, right? See how
Yeah.
I'm trying to just wait it out here. Can't shield grab that. And it's super important to hold this position. I think Squirtle, unfortunately, like his main way to do it is to just be really rapid and kind of matchy with hitboxes. Like he doesn't exactly like pressure people that much, but it's just usually like a lot of frame trapping, a lot of like, oh, my options up close are harder than or faster than you, and you're not really gonna have anything to like throw out to beat it. So that's typically my way of holding advantage. Like watch something like this. If I had you in the corner, I might just kind of go like this. It's a similar way to how I described like in neutral. If we ever get into a close range interaction, like that's kind of how I'll opt to play it. I try to put the
Oh,
pressure on you in the corner and at ledge so that you can't really like move in. And a lot of the time, what that means is throwing out those quick hitboxes, right? The aerials into tilts, into more aerials, and being ready to kind of like back up every option with something else. So yeah, that's like a lot of it with Squirtle, right? He really strings horizontally. He keeps people in the corner and later at ledge with those quick hitboxes and a lot of pressure. Remember, like the super important part is though that you always kind of stay on the inside of them. That's why moves like F tilt and aerials that are like kind of in place or retreating are really good
yeah.
because you're not like sending yourself forward to the ledge or off stage. Like you really just want to stay. If you were right here, I always want to be to the left of you, right, closer to center stage than you are.
Okay, yeah.
That's really big. And that's what advantage state is, right? I'll lose it. As soon as you go over there, then I lose my advantage state. So I'm really gonna try to keep you here. If you try to roll in or try to jump over me and go into center stage, I'm gonna try to beat that out, right? With something.
Yeah, okay then. And
So
is there any
that's a lot
other
of it.
moves that like can beat like ledge jump? Like, cause you showed me that jab one.
Mm. Yeah, so I do the jab a lot. Outside of that, you can throw out kind of like those multi hit. Anything with a multi hit is usually the best, or a lingering hitbox, right?
Yeah.
So I do like down air on occasion because
Oh,
let's say you were to
okay.
jump into it, it's usually gonna catch from below. So
Oh
like that, you know,
yeah,
and
okay.
I'll throw it out right above like there. You can also
Yeah.
sort of do it with back air, but with back air, it's less likely that I'm gonna get like the last hit, you know, back air because it's you might just fall out below.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, the down air is really good. That's one of my favorites. So between the jab and the down air, another move you can sort of do is down tilt has a sort of linger hitbox.
Yeah.
And what's nice about that is it's also your two framing move, so like it covers that, and also, oh, that might kill you. I just wanted to send you off stage. I was like, oops, my
Oh
bad. But
shit! Fuck!
but
My
yeah,
bad.
you're good, man. You're good. Down tilt, it lingers for a while. You know, it's pretty good to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. And I don't know. Outside of that, sometimes it's okay to let people jump, but you just want to make sure that you stay on the ground. They're probably going to try to drift into the middle, so you prevent them from doing that by staying in that space and occupying that. You know, waiting for their landing and catching it. And then when it comes to them, if they have space to land in the corner, it's sometimes okay to let them land there because then you're still in advantage, as we said, and you can still then get your corner pressure started, right?
Yeah.
That's what's really important about that. I think a lot of people they see somebody landing in the corner, they're like, I gotta chase that down. But sometimes, you know, take it a little easier. Say they're still in disadvantage. They're not completely out of the woods
Oh,
yet.
okay.
And you
Yeah,
can
because
play
I
it a little
always
more
like to
passive,
chase
right?
people down, but you're right. You gotta like
Yeah. You
see
chase
what they
people down if they
do.
land in the
Yeah.
middle. That's what's
Yeah.
clutch. Like you can't let somebody just jump over you from ledge and just hold all the way in and then end up in the dead center of the stage.
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
you need to occupy that more often. So that's one of my principles of disadvantage. Like always cover the thing they could do that would get them out of disadvantage immediately, right? So like a lot of people will try to get out of disadvantage instantly by landing in center stage or
Yeah.
like hitting you, right? Those kind of things. Like
Yeah.
that's the quickest and easiest way to get out of disadvantage, but it's also the riskiest, right? For them, the person in disadvantage, those are usually the riskier options. But people love to go for them because the reward is so large. So for you, you want to cover that stuff with high priority. You want to say, I'm not going to let them get back into center stage. You don't
Oh,
have to
yeah.
cover this stuff with high priority because, like, let's say I wanted to jump off ledge and I would land back in the corner.
Yeah.
It's still not perfect for me. I'm still in disadvantage and I still have to
Yeah.
work to get out. So you, as the guy in advantage, you have to say, okay, that's fine. Sometimes I'll let that happen and I'll continue my advantage state, give myself a couple more chances because eventually a chance will present itself. They'll do something stupid or I'll make the right read, the right interaction, and I'll win and send them back off stage or back into the air and continue my advantage state that way.
Yeah.
So that's really, really clutch. And honestly, like that's where Squirtle's just his coverage moves come in so clutch, right? Whenever people are landing or anything, you really want to be looking for like those dash sliding F tilts or those dash attacks even can be
Oh,
really good.
okay.
And when it comes to like catching people landing, one really important thing I like to do is throw out maybe a move like a nair that will hit them like on the way down. Like, so let's say, because people love to do this specifically on landing, right? They love to like fastball air dodge, just
Oh
like this. That's
yeah,
all. Neutral air dodge is like the
yeah.
most common way people try to get out of the air. So a nair lingering, if you kind of just stick to them like glue, like that nair will beat their air dodge because it stays out until it hits the ground. So lingering hitboxes like that, like even multi hits like a back air down air would work really well.
Yeah, that
So
is
that's the
true.
one option I say cover the most when it comes to people landing. Be completely prepared for that, like that fastball neutral air dodge.
Oh,
So
that's
common.
true.
And that applies with Ivy too. So like even if they're Ivy, I like to cover that with maybe just like a quick dash attack on the
Yeah.
ground or
Oh, okay.
something like that. Or even like you could do like a jump and then either landing bear or fair depending on which side they land on you.
Yeah.
So the most important part of this, which is like I want to drive home really when people are landing, you want to stay kind of right beneath them. Like it's a little risky
Yeah.
a lot of the time. You might not feel totally comfortable because you're like, what if they throw out a hitbox? But
Yeah.
usually it's ideal to be right beneath them, at least at first, so
Yeah.
you can cover those things like neutral air dodges. You can cover their landings and make them have to land back in the corner or back in on a platform, a bad position they don't want to go to, right?
Yeah.
But as the game goes on, if you see them being really aggressive at a disadvantage, then it might be your cue to say, okay, they might not let me stick to them, stay right below them on landing, but their options and their hitboxes that they're throwing out aren't covering me if I was to stand a little further away and hit them from there. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
usually that's my counterplay if I need it, but I
Yeah.
start each game by like sticking to them, and especially
Yeah.
with like Squirtle and with Zard, right? Because those two can kind of just run underneath people and maybe hit them back up into the air or hit them back to the side. Like if you're ever here, I'm just gonna try to stay as close beneath you as I can.
Oh,
Like Squirtle's whole
okay.
thing really is be really close to his opponent. We talked about it with neutral. Like
Yeah.
he needs those close range interactions consistently. So
And
I'm
then
gonna try
send
to
him
like
horizontal. I mean, wait, horizontally. There we go.
horizontally, absolutely. So I'll chase after you and everything.
Yeah. And when you said like catch their landings with Ivysaur, is it better to like do it with the dash attack like what you said, or sometimes I do it with grab?
I like dash attack more because in general, grab is like more difficult, right? I see a lot of
Yeah.
species. I see them miss grabs a lot of the time. Like
Ah,
they'll go for something like
yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
it's also like the idea that if they were to do something else, like a hitbox or something, a dash attack could like trade with that, right? Rather than a grab, which is just going to lose outright.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just less committal. Like let's say instead of fastball neutral, I think they like went like this last second. Then they would
Oh.
avoid whatever you did. But if you
Yeah.
did a dash attack, it's a lot less laggy, and you'd be able to run immediately after. Like
Wait, is
you
the
could do
dash
like
attack less laggy?
it definitely is, man.
Oh, my bad.
It's slight. It's not the biggest
Oh,
difference,
I
but
feel it.
it's
Damn, you're right. Yeah.
that whiff dash grab with Ivysaur especially, man, is super laggy.
Yeah,
Like maybe
yeah.
with a different character, it might not be as bad, but Ivy's dash
Yeah.
grab is brutally slow. So like
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
ridiculously hard. If you are super confident on somebody's disadvantage, like how they're gonna land, you can go for a grab, right? I don't want to dissuade you, but when
Yeah.
it comes to like if you're not at full confidence, which most of the time I'm not,
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
usually throw out that dash tag. And guess what it does? It sends them right back into the air for you to continue your advantage state. So then
Oh,
you get right
damn,
back
that's
up there.
true. Yeah.
So it's a great move for advantage states. It starts advantage states with Ivy.
Yeah, I noticed that
So
angle today too. Yeah, it's pretty good.
yeah, it's a fantastic angle, man.
Yeah.
Really, it's best to set that up whenever you can.
You said it was good for two framing too?
Yeah, you can use it to two frame and everything if you throw it out at the right time. I do that against like Pichu, and sometimes like if it's like a Fox Falco situation, if they're like side being, you can do it. So
Oh, okay.
it's a more I think underutilized move, but I
Yeah,
really like to use it a lot. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah. So one big difference with Ivy, and I won't, we'll get into disadvantage. I don't want to stick too long on this, but
Yeah.
just the difference between him and Squirt. A lot of the stuff is the same, but when it comes to stringing and holding advantage states, he definitely prefers to do it vertically, right? Compared to
Oh,
Squirtle's
yeah.
preference of horizontal,
Yeah.
Ivy needs to do it vertically a lot of the time. And luckily, a lot of his moves set up for that, right? So we just talked about the dash attack hits you straight up, sets up for a vertical
Damn,
advantage state,
yeah.
right? All his throws, so like down throw or up throw, also set up for that, right? Where I can
Yeah.
maybe face you up there. Even a lot of his aerials, so like Whereas a move like Squirtle Fair might have hit you like away. You notice how like it hits you like forward.
Yeah.
This will hit you straight up, right? So
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
can get that started, and even like a back air hits you at least high enough where I can get something started. So that stuff is really really important. Even like landing up airs. I mean, I could go on to forever. Up tilt, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Ivy's
yeah.
all of his moves in like when he gets straight hits and wins neutral. Most of them will send opponents up and get that started. So
Yeah, so it's like
he will get those
juggling.
chances a lot more, a lot of
Yeah.
juggling chances for sure.
Yeah.
And luckily, he's really good at that, right?
Yeah.
He needs to win those situations. That's how he's going to get damage, especially if he has to play from like a lower percent. It's usually where you're going to get like most of your damage racked up is through juggling. So make sure with your Ivy juggling that you're not like losing those situations of advantage every time really quickly. Because I see a lot of Ivy stars, they don't really hold advantage. They kind of just get their throw, get their dash like whatever, and then maybe go for something a little too committal or they overextend too much
Yeah.
and then they just lose it really quickly, right? And then they have to
Yeah.
win neutral again. And they have to like winning neutral with
Oh.
Ivy is hard, man. Like
Yeah, it
we
kind of
all
is
we all feel it.
sometimes, yeah.
Especially much harder than Squirtle. So you really got to make those advantage states count, which means anything you can do to like, keep them in disadvantage is great. Anything you can do to like frame trap their landing or stuff like that, keep the pressure on.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like what I recommend with Ivysaur, I usually say like go up really high against like floaty characters. It's like if you were Squirtle right then and there, like as you were,
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend like double jump or like full hop up airs to try to catch something up there because nobody wants to air dodge that high up, right? Like look at how
Yeah.
high this up air will go, or even like off a platform. Nobody wants to air dodge from that high.
Yeah,
So if
that's
you can kind
true.
of force an air dodge out there, it's really good because then they'll still have to land and they have a lot more time. And guess what this up air does? It pushes you down really quickly.
Oh,
Sure, you notice
yeah.
like
Like a
if you hold down
fastball,
after an
kind
up
of.
air,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it works as like a fastball move. So look how quickly I can get back to the ground after this double jump up air. So even if you force out an air dodge, a lot of the time you'll get a punish on the ground, right? So like let me just show you a quick example. Like try to not fastball this maybe, so that'll help a little
Yeah.
bit. But like if
Okay.
I do like I got a little bit of damage on you maybe. That might help. So if I do something like this, right? And then
Oh.
you can try to like air dodge
Oh.
it, right?
Yeah.
And then I could still maybe get a punish on it, like
Yeah.
if I was able to react and catch
Yeah.
the landing, like catch the air dodge. The only thing you usually have to account for is what side of you they land on. So like
Okay.
if you did like an air dodge right like up there, I would just have to be like, okay, I'm gonna dash attack
Oh,
that or
yeah.
I'm gonna down tilt that. And it's really, really important to like have that reaction ready because it happens super quickly and you sort of like not that you have to guess, but you have
Yeah.
to be ready to make that split second decision between like, okay, am I gonna cover left side or the right side? Or sometimes both. I mean you can go for like a down smash or something. But
Okay. Yeah.
it usually for me, I opt for trying to watch what side of me they land on and getting like a dash attack or as you said, maybe even a dash grab something to cover them and put them back up there and start it again. So that's especially useful versus like floaty characters, right? Who after they air dodge, they're still stuck in the air for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And conversely, if you're trying to hold advantage state versus like a fast faller, it
Yeah.
might be better a lot of the time to try to hit them closer to the ground. Because remember, fast fallers, because they fall so fast, they can't really drift that much in the air before they hit the ground. So like whereas a floaty might be able to like drift all the way across the stage like that, a fast faller might kind of only be able to go like that way, right?
Yeah.
So recognize that their sort of radius, their range of landing is smaller than a floaties would be, and say like, okay, I'm gonna let them get close to the ground, and I'm gonna track them down while they're doing that, and then once they do, I'm gonna throw out like, an aerial, something to cover their
Ooh.
fastball, something to cover their air dodge if they do it
Yeah.
right, and maybe occasionally then I'll start like baiting them to throw out hitboxes, and I can start doing bigger things, maybe like a pivot grab or like a pivot grab or like an
Oh.
F match to cover
Yeah.
anything like that, right? It usually start like uh safe, start like less risky, not more non-committal options like those quick little aerials and stuff. And later in games, you want to start going for your bigger hits like the grabs and the F smashes. I mean, I love to do that kind of stuff to catch people air dodging and landing with Ivysaur because they expect you to go up there a lot of the time, so you can usually break expectations by not. And that's mostly it, when it comes to like
Yeah.
Ivy Advantage State. I kind of I go up there pretty often, but when I don't, I'm always prepared for like an air dodge, right? That's my biggest thing. A fastball
Okay.
neutral air dodge. I'm telling you, this is like how people get down so often. So be ready to cover that mainly, and be ready to throw out the left to middle options, things that will maybe even if you miss it, you'll be able to hit them with something after, and not like end your advantage state immediately.
Yeah.
And with Zard, he's like less advantage state. He usually just wins off of strays. But when it comes to like getting people high up in the air, we'll talk about ledge trapping next time for sure.
Okay.
But when it comes to getting people in the air or even in the corner, you kind of just want to like use your fear factor to bait something bad out, right? So like if I have someone in the corner, I might just kind of stand here a little bit, jump and walk a little bit, and hopefully they roll or hopefully they jump or spot dodge or anything, and then I'll
Oh
go in
yeah.
with like hit them with something big like a fair, a bear, F tilt, gas grab, that kind of stuff, right? And I almost always um wait for them to act first. I mean, it's like sort of a 50-50 between like, are you going to run at them and press an option, or are they going to be forced to do their like defensive option first, right? Like a roll
Yeah.
or a jump or something. So I usually let them act first because I trust my reactions and everything with ledge trapping, and I've sort of and corner pressure, and I've sort of seen a lot of it before. Like I've recognized these situations, what people are going to tend to do to get out of the corner and to get down
Oh.
from landing. So once you sort of know that, it lets you like it goes back to the data collection thing. It lets you kind of be a lot more reactive on that front rather than just rushing in and you acting first, which is it's risky. If you mess that up,
Yeah.
then you lose your advantage state, and they might get something on you. They might reversal it.
That is
And when
true.
you have people up in the air with Zard, definitely use his ground speed to like track them down.
Oh, okay.
And so like even if I had you like all the way up here, right, and you were like drifting, oh my gosh, none of this was unexpected. If I had you like if I had you like high up though, I would try to sort of use my ground speed and like try to follow you on the way down, right? Because like I can sort of do this and then throw out aerials, throw out my up smash. That kind of stuff is really big.
Oh
And his up smash is
yeah.
obviously great at like higher percents, right? It's even hard to like it's hard to beat out with a hitbox. It's like it's a high priority move. And even air dodging sometimes is scary because it's the two hits and everything. So
Yeah.
definitely track people from below with Tarkov, just like we did with Squirtle. But in this case, hit them when they're in the air. Don't wait for them you don't need to wait for them to fastball air dodge to the ground or to throw out a hitbox themselves. You can usually kind of scoop them while they're still in the air, while they're still landing, and get one of your big hits with Zari. That's
Oh
a lot of his
yeah.
advantage state. Like, and I also use his grind speed just to track people. Like, if I have you going horizontally, I'll like run after you like this and go for like a run up fair or like a dash attack,
Oh
something like that.
yeah.
So I want to see a lot of that from you, right? Just like the high pressure. If you hit me with like a nair,
Yeah.
going to the left or something,
Yeah.
then I want you to like run after me like that, like
Oh
do like a
yeah.
sliding F
Like a
tilt or do
yeah.
a dash attack. That kind
Yeah.
of stuff is so underutilized, man. So many people just like don't don't follow it up if they get a straight hit in neutral. And I need you to follow it up. That's where you're gonna
Yeah.
make all your money.
That is true.
So yeah, that's about it with advantage state,
Oh,
I
okay then.
believe.
Yeah.
And a lot of that will sort of spill into disadvantage state. So I want to get started with that quickly so we have time to discuss like specifics. But
Okay.
it's important to recognize that everything we're talking
Yeah.
about in advantage state can sort of be applied in the reverse, right? Like if you were waiting for someone to do something in disadvantage, to like extend your own advantage state. Now, if you're the guy in disadvantage, you might say, okay, I'm gonna let him act first because
Oh.
that will often let me, stay safe. I'll stay at wherever I can be to be the safest, and maybe bait him out to do something stupid and overextend his advantage state and lose it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that does happen quite often.
Yeah.
You have to be good at it. You have to be good at like baiting people to do stupid things in advantage. But to be honest, like once you get it, you'll start really taking advantage of people, and they won't have an advantage state on you. And then once that happens, it's super demoralizing, right? Like when you're able to get at a disadvantage consistently against somebody, they're going to be very very taken aback and struggle to get anything started on you. So with Squirtle, he is obviously small hip or hurt box, and he's sort of tricky to like pin down, even when you have him in disadvantage, right? So like if
Yeah.
you're getting comboed by someone or if you're getting juggled,
Yeah.
it can usually be kind of difficult. They have to like extend much more than they would against a normal character to hit Squirtle from that spot. So you want to take full advantage of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, make it as much of an extension as possible for them and something that they don't really feel comfortable doing. So, like, a lot of the time I'll stay really close to the corner for Squirtle for like long periods of time, right? Or I'll stay in the air a little bit longer than I need to and sort
Okay.
of drift back and forth, anything to make them feel like they have the chance to hit me,
Yeah.
and they'll extend and do something a little riskier than maybe they normally would. And just when they do that, that's when I hit my defensive option, and that's when I hit my hitbox to
Oh,
send them back.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's usually it's sort of it can be obvious what they're looking for. And remember, in disadvantage, this is one of my big principles of disadvantage. Always avoid the worst case scenario. So like always be ready to avoid the hit that will like kill you or send you the furthest away. Like their main win condition, you have to know
Yeah.
it, and
Okay.
your main like disadvantage options should be avoiding that. So like let me give
Okay.
an example, right?
Yeah.
Something that let me think. Let me think. What's a good example? It has you in disadvantage, right? Like
Yeah.
in Ivy up air, right? Let's say you were
Yeah.
doing a Ditto and you were playing a Squirtle and I was playing Ivy.
Yeah.
I hit you
Yeah.
up into the air. You don't mind getting hit by like a nair or something, or like you don't if you get down to the ground, maybe then it's gonna be like I can hit you with like a dash attack or a down tilt or something like that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But if you get hit by that up air, you're taking huge damage. You're getting put back
Ooh.
right into that same spot of disadvantage, or sometimes even
Yeah.
worse, and you might die, right?
Yeah.
At higher percentage. So
Yeah.
that is the thing to avoid. That is the one thing you cannot get hit by. And trust me, they will be looking for it above all else. And you know this because you do it with your characters. You know, you always look for everyone is always looking
Yeah.
for the one biggest thing they can get, you know.
Yeah.
Yoshi's
That's
looking to
true.
start his combo starters, and then later on he's looking to get, you know, like any kind of up airs he can on you to extend his advantage state,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like any character has something, right? So it's really, really important for you to recognize that and have that in your brain while you're playing disadvantage, just so you can tell yourself, okay, whatever I'm doing, I just want to make sure I'm out of range for this, or I'm not able to get hit by this. Because in general, that stuff is more common than you'd think. I think some people like, you know, they view, oh, even at like top level or high level, they'll be like, oh, disadvantage, you know, it's so tough. Like they're covering all my options. But most players, especially a lot of good ones, are just really good at hitting the one thing they wanted to hit, right? They're like big win condition. They just are good at hitting that. So if you can like be so cognizant and ready to avoid it, it a lot of the time just lets you get out of disadvantage for free, right?
Oh yeah.
Like if a Falco is tracking your landing, and he's saying, okay, I want to try to up tilt you on landing and get a combo started. That's the one thing I'll avoid. I don't care. He can hit me with anything else. You know, if he decides to do something else, a dash attack or an aerial or anything, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, it's fine. As long as
Yeah.
it's not up tilt. And I know
Yeah.
that's what he wanted, and I know that's what would do the most damage to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just be really ready to avoid that stuff. And luckily Squirtle is the best at that because they have to extend and commit the hardest to hit him, right? With his
Yeah.
small hurt box. So when it comes to like options at a disadvantage, Squirtle I think is really well equipped to deal with like the corner, right? This is one situation of disadvantage, and I think he's really good at it because he on the ground has all these quick little hitboxes he can use to kind of like push people back or maybe, you know, make himself sort of like not he's not very vulnerable if he has all these quick moves he can throw out in all different angles, right? All different directions.
Yeah, that's true.
And the more you mix it up, the more they kind of feel like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna like get through this wall. And they trust me, they want to, you know, compared to neutral, where like maybe somebody might be a little more patient. If they have you in the corner, they're gonna want to extend much more than they would have to like hit you off stage or something and maybe get a kill started or rack up a lot of damage. And that's when they'll extend harder to get you off. So you really want to make sure from the corner that you're being like super safe while also baiting them to like extend.
Yeah.
I think Squirtle's really well equipped to deal with that though. You know, I don't think that's the biggest issue. And eventually you can work your way back into the center of the stage by either, you know, rolling, jumping, dashing in,
Oh,
but then
okay.
also incorporating hitboxes into that, right? Like you can use timing mix-ups and also hitboxes to say like, okay, here's how I'm gonna work my way back in the center, right? Let's say
Yeah.
you had me on this left side corner, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take my time here, throw out a little bit of hitbox here and there, work, you know, up and down the platform, and then just as it just as an opportunity presents itself, I think I can work my way back into the center. I'll do a quick like sliding up tilt, or I'll do like jump back air and then approach with it, so then I can work my way back into
Oh,
the
okay.
stage and gain some more ground, right? Because
Yeah.
that's all like advantage and disadvantage are, right? Like how much of the stage you're controlling at a given time. So use what stage you have. It's like even if you had me pushed to like this very corner of the stage, right? I'd still be like, okay, I have this to work with, and I'm going to use it to my full ability to gain a little bit more at a time. So I work from this, and maybe I can get over to here, and now I have this side of the stage to work with, and then I can work a little bit further in, and then maybe I have this whole half of the stage to work with, and then maybe I'll push you back, and then now you have less
Oh,
stage, and I have everything
yeah.
to the right, and still I
Okay.
have like think about it. You only have this little chunk between me and the left corner of the stage. So
Yeah.
that's a big difference maker, right?
Yeah.
It's really important to know that. So if you're the guy in disadvantage, use whatever chunk of the stage you have, use it fully. Don't try to like work in the air a lot of the time because especially in Squirtle, he doesn't really have much going for him in the air. Like his aerials are
Yeah.
low priority. They're not super strong, and a lot of the time that's what people expect. They expect jumps and they expect aerial play because
Yeah.
nobody's super patient on the ground. It's like it's hard to develop that style. But at Squirtle, you have all these quick tilts, you have this dash attack, you have these amazing defensive options on the ground, right? His spot dodge and his roll and everything, they're really good. So you really, really got to work to abuse that stuff more. So I would say the ground is where you're gonna make a lot happen with Squirtle from the corner. And the other area of disadvantage would be landing, right? Which unfortunately Squirtle is just not
Yeah.
very good at. Like in no circumstance is it like a good thing to be above somebody.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, this is probably an area where you struggle a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, man. So it's the best advice I can give you, because trust me, it's a lot of the time, they're gonna be good at covering the limited options you have already.
Yeah.
But a lot
More
of the
just
time what's
retreat
really,
to
really
ledge, kind of.
yeah, like you sort of need to look at the whatever sides of the stage or whatever amount of the stage is open
Yeah.
and take advantage of that. So like let's say you had me up in the air and I was like, all right, you're covering center stage and I try to like maybe stand in center for me just to just demonstrate. Like you were right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm up in the air. I'm saying, okay, I can't really land on the left side of the stage because I was already on the right. Like even if I came from ledge or something, like I'm limited to this half of the stage to land, right?
Yeah.
Immediately. But I recognize your range and your threat range, and I say, well, if I landed here, it's not like you can hit me unreactively, right? Like it's not like you can
Yeah.
put super pressure or threaten me from that
Yeah.
range.
That's
So
true.
90%
Yeah.
of the time, I take that section, right? I take whatever space they aren't directly threatening. And trust me, like look at a character like Squirtle. He can't cover the whole stage at once, with a threat
Yeah.
range. Like so, it's not super super common where you feel like you have nowhere to land. Like usually there's going to be some space because let's say you were super close then to the ledge, like here. Yeah, maybe I don't have direct space to land on the right side of the stage, but if I can get over you and get over here, then the reverse happened, right? Where now I am controlling more of the stage and I took all the space that you weren't threatening directly. So always look for that as like your main area to land, right? But sometimes they're really, really threatening you, and some characters are good at it, right? Like character like Samus or something might have a move or a shot they can use to cover a lot of space at once, and Squirtle lands so slowly that it's really difficult to avoid that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's when retreating to ledge is a lot of the time a great option because it's actually pretty safe spots. Like I like to look at it in terms of like how your options are limited, right? In the air, you have like access to maybe a few options. I mean, Squirtle, he can air dodge, right? You can air dodge directionally, maybe. You can drift back and forth with the with the control stick, and maybe once in a blue moon you could throw out an aerial, right? Like to cover yourself a little bit. But
Oh
we know how
yeah.
bad his aerials are at like landing.
Yeah.
Down air is like nothing. Nair is super bad, and then all of his other ones won't even hit below him. So
Yeah.
it's really important to recognize like you're so limited from there, right? But from ledge, you actually have a lot more options. You have neutral get up, you have get up attack, you have roll, you have get up jump, like that kind of stuff. And you get your double jump back when you snap to ledge, right?
Yeah.
And you can also you're provided momentary invincibility, which means you have access to a lot more of a timing mix up than you would have in the air, right? So the ledge is definitely better than being in the air. As Squirtle,
Yeah.
as Ivy, literally, like, in general, I know these characters suffer at ledge, right? But
Yeah,
there's
that's
there's
true.
it's just a pure like resources game. You're more limited in the air than you are at ledge, and you have more to work with at the ledge. I think the reason a lot of times people struggle to get off the ledge is because they're not taking advantage of the full scope of what's offered to them, like their amount of options, you know. So
Yeah.
really take advantage of that stuff and mix it up. You know, we could talk about it more next time. I focus more on ledge trapping, and maybe we could talk about like how to get off ledge next time.
Yeah.
But just you have both the universal options of like if you get up attack, roll, jump, and ledge hang, all that stuff. Any character can do that, right? But you also have any kind of like specific character options where like Ivy might have his upbeat through the stage, or he
Yeah.
might have something like he can throw out razor leaves like this and sort of mess up the opponent's
Oh,
ledge
yeah.
trap, right? Or maybe he can do like a tether cancel and throw an aerial, or a tether
Yeah.
cancel and air dodge, like anything like that. The more mix ups you have, the better. And look at the amount. The sheer amount is completely incomparable to the amount of options you would have had on landing. Like landing is basically a game of like, is he going to air dodge or is he not going to air dodge?
Yeah, that's true.
Usually that's it. So that's more of a
Yeah.
50-50. And sometimes it's if you're Squirtle, it's pretty skewed in their favor, But if
Yeah.
you're Squirtle ledge, you have all these options. It's definitely not 50-50, that you have a lot more to do here. You can do a lot more of mix-ups options. and and I think a lot of people just don't really like understand the full scope of that, because it's also a game of timing mix-up. So it's options that you select, you can mix those up, and it's also when you get up off of legend, when you pick those options is a timing mix-up. And when you combine those two, it's just pretty clear that you have more options provided to you at ledge than you would
Yeah.
on landing. So that explains why a lot of the time people opt to drift to the ledge and drift off stage so they can get back to ledge, because that's at least a better position, than being in the air. So like
Yeah.
in terms of disadvantage, that's the hierarchy would be like worst possible spot is to be like in the air above your opponent. Next would be maybe snap to ledge, like hanging at ledge, and then like the least bad part of disadvantage is working from the corner, right? It's still disadvantage, but you have most of your options provided to you. You can basically do anything. Like if you're Squirtle, in the air you can basically do nothing. You can like air dodge and drift. At ledge you have all those options we just talked about, but it's still
Yeah.
somewhat limited, right? And then from the corner, you're on the ground now, so you have access to everything. You can shield, you can do rolls, spot dodges, aerials out of shield, that kind of stuff, tilts, jabs, any kind of stuff like that. So you have basically everything afforded to you. So you see how, like, to me, the hierarchy works based upon like how limited your options are at that given time.
Okay.
So take any chances you get to move up the hierarchy and get yourself into a less bad, less severe spot in disadvantage. But sometimes it might take time and it might take you to go through kind of all of the aspects, right? So like people will start in the air and then go to ledge and then maybe land back in the corner and work their way from there. But
Oh.
that's good, right? You'd
Yeah.
rather work your way from here
Yeah.
than initially have to try to work your way down from the air, right? Or even work your way off from ledge and go straight back into neutral. So if you can ever get yourself here, it's usually safer and a better idea than trying to immediately return back to neutral, because that's still risky,
Yeah.
right? If you're in the
Yeah.
air, trying to shove yourself back into neutral and go back into the corner, that's way more punishable. That's way more
Yeah.
risky. And it's also what they're looking to cover. They're usually going to allow you to go back to ledge if you're in the air, because that's like they're holding their advantage state. But you're also doing the safer thing and allowing yourself you're giving yourself more options, allowing yourself more time to like thoughtfully get out of disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
So definitely don't push the envelope when it's not necessary, and unless you see like a clear cue to do so. If they
Yeah.
mess up some sort of juggling, if they allow you that space, give you that space to get back to neutral. So that's really important to me, I think. And that's where all the options come from. With all the mods, I mean, you have all these things you can do to get off of ledge and out of the corner that are just sort of specific to each character, and then you also have the universal things that you can apply.
Yeah. Damn, that is
So
good
that's
to
that's a lot
know.
of it, man. That's a lot
Yeah.
of it. I really
Yeah.
focus on that. Try to get to the ledge, and then try to get to the corner and get out of disadvantage from there, right? Because that's barely even disadvantage. Cornering somebody and pressuring them is really difficult
Yeah.
as the guy in advantage. So when you're in disadvantage and in the corner, you can sort of take your time, use your options, and work your way out. and get back to neutral, right? A lot of the time you might get reversals and you might hit them and start something. So it's much better to be there than to be landing and like trying to get it from there.
Okay.
That's my biggest advice, you know.
Yeah. Like, what about like if you're getting like comboed like a lot, I guess.
So a lot of combos, right, are like true and you can't do much about it.
Yeah.
But my main things to like, you know, try to get out of combos. I SDI a lot of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
like if you can ever kind of just roll your stick in like in sort of mix up the directions kind of and just try to be like unpredictable. A lot of the time you can get out of things. Also make
Yeah.
sure you're always DIing the way they don't expect, right? So like if they're hitting you with something and they expect you to DI in, maybe you have to kind of DI out to like increase
Oh.
your chance of getting out of that, right? It's
Okay.
a lot of like the thought there. But
Yeah.
also, to tell you the truth, one thing that works pretty well in disadvantage is just randomness. Like they're gonna try to predict what you're doing, and there's nothing harder to predict than somebody who's basically just choosing random options and random DI. You know, like if you can ever do that in
Yeah.
any situation, is disadvantage, right? So like if you're trying to
Oh.
get out of a combo, or if you're at ledge, right? The best
Yeah.
thing you can do maybe is just like be random and mix up your options that way, rather than like being thoughtful about it every time. Because the more thought you put into something, it's also giving them the like the data and the possibility of sort of reading you, right? But it's hard to read something that's totally random.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're getting comboed by like sort of strings and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I would say just try to like really work on holding out, SDIing out, that kind of stuff, and try to get back to ledge or anything like that. Don't try to hold in on things. Don't like double jump out of combos. That kind of stuff is what
Okay.
really costs
Yeah,
people a
that's
lot.
true. Okay.
And really, I don't Pokemon switch. We'll talk about switching in the last lesson
Oh,
of this
okay.
thing. But I really opt not to Pokemon switch unless it's like one of the really, really specific rare scenarios where I think it's a good idea.
Man, that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. That's good to know. Yeah. Because
So
for me, I
yeah.
kind of like to like sometimes I like I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like if I don't know, it's just dependent, I guess. Yeah, but I feel like I drift more towards like switching a lot, kind of. I feel like I
Uh-huh.
feel more versatile.
I mean, it depends. Like switching in disadvantage or like to get out of things.
Yeah,
It can sometimes like provide you with a character that's let's say you were switching from like Squirtle off stage to Ivy, right? It'll
yeah,
now you're a character with more options to get back to the stage, right? So like he's much better recovery, much more mix-ups there with the tether, and then
yeah,
also a little bit better at ledge because he has so many mix-ups there.
yeah.
So if it's a situation like that, then it's not as bad, right? But if it's like you're doing it in the air and you're switching, it might be harder to land than that way, and you might have just screwed yourself, right? So you have to make sure
Ooh,
you're really
okay.
thinking about like, will this switch and this new character that I'm transforming into, will that actually benefit me in disadvantage? Will that give me more options, or will my options be even more limited than they were with the first character?
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you just have to cut your losses. You have to say like, all right, if I just take this hit as Squirtle, then I'll probably get out after that. But if I avoid the hit as by switching to Ivy, they might get something even stronger on me. And was that really worth it then?
Yeah, that's
That's the real
true.
question. That's the switching mentality, and we'll talk about that. The last lesson of
Yeah,
this plan is about that. But you sort of see what I mean, right? It's usually there's got to be a decent amount of thought that goes into it.
that is true.
So yeah, that's mostly it. I mean, I think we're running out of time here. But if you have any
Yeah,
more questions or anything about that stuff, then let me know.
yeah, that is true. Um, I guess for like disadvantage, like for like against fast characters, how do you like keep up with them? Or like faster
Um,
characters?
I think the faster they are, the more you have to kind of just accept to like full commit to your option and disadvantage, right? So like if a character like Fox or something is tracking me down on landing or trying to like do something to string me along the stage right horizontally,
Yeah.
then I might just have to fully hold out, go off stage, like that kind of stuff. I try not to like stay in their range where it's really easy for them to cover reactively. So like if you hold in against characters like that, a lot of the time they'll just be close enough to you where they can dash forward and hit you again, and then if they
Yeah.
jump really high, they can jump high and hit you again, and that kind of stuff just gets really it tornadoes and like it gets really bad really quickly, right? Like
Yeah.
snowballs.
That is
So
true.
I don't know. I typically am more like all in with my options against those characters in disadvantage, where I'm just like, all right, I know that they can cover basically everything, but I'm gonna make it the hardest for them. I'm gonna make them have to dash across the entire stage. I'm gonna make them have to jump up really
Oh,
high
okay.
because at the very
Yeah.
least, that's like it's less likely that they'll feel comfortable doing that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's pushing them a little bit
Okay.
to overextend.
Okay then.
So yeah, it can be difficult a lot of the time, but
Yeah.
also just try to like match their tempo. Fastball everything. Like when you're landing, try to fastball aerials, fastball air dodges, like we talked about, and
Okay.
mix up your air drift really well. See how Charizard has this extra jump. It actually lets him like switch up his air drift. Like I can be holding fully right, and then all of a sudden like bam, now I'm going full left.
Oh, yep, yeah.
That can be really clutch too.
Yeah, I never used that before. That's true.
But yeah, that's mostly it. I'm sorry, but I think I have another lesson to get to, so I don't want to be late to that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
You're all
But
good. You're all good. I just
okay, but
I
you
wish
have
always that I could stay extra.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. but I just appreciate the games and the tips. Yeah, I'll try to look
Of
back
course,
on the
man. Of course.
video. Yeah, because I just recorded this time. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
great.
All
That's a
right.
really great idea too. I'm
Yeah.
glad
Have a
you're doing
good
that.
one. Enjoy the next
All right,
lesson.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll see you next time. As always, DM me if you want to plan it ahead of time or anything, because I know we have the time zone difference,
Yeah. Okay.
and
That's
I'm a lot more
true.
free now, so I can totally make it work. With
Nice.
yeah, because it's summer and everything, so I can be more
Okay.
flexible with the times and days and everything. So just let me know. And next time
Oh.
I got you with a few more games. Today we didn't get to play much, but we'll play a
Yeah.
few games
Oh
next time.
shit.
I'll
Thank
promise that.
you. Yeah, it's
Of
all
course, man.
good.
Of
I
course.
don't mind, but I just appreciate the tips mostly. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, man.
Yeah.
Anytime.
You have a good one.
You too, man.
Yeah.
Talk to you.